in both the nonprofit fundraising and political, so I am going to focus mostly on political right now, but I'm happy to help you with either one. There is a lot of similarity, and I want to thank Steve, who's not in the room right now, but for setting the table for us, because he's given a great overview that's really helpful. Most of what he said is applicable to political campaigns, but there are some subtle differences which I'm going to address. So what I want you to do is I want you to turn to the person next to you or behind you, whatever, and I want you in just a few seconds ask the person to give you a donation or whatever. So who wants to share something about how it felt to ask and what the feedback was that you got? You go ahead, Kimberly.
So it felt good, but I know Melissa a little bit, so it was probably more comfortable than if I didn't know her. But she gave me great feedback, tighter, so shorter, less words. And then if I'm seeing that I'm losing the person, to ask a question and maybe ask for advice.
Good.
So yeah.
Jameson did a great job of reminding me how we first met. So connecting that, like, oh, it was great seeing you a few weeks ago at this, and like making it, I think it just makes it harder to say no, because you realize, I'm going to be seeing that person again, So, I don't want to come off like so like, it sort of makes you more accountable, I think. And also it's a wonderful social skill to have, to remember people.
Great.
So my husband reminded me to.
You were asking for your husband.
Did he say yes?
He said yes before I asked, which was great. But to lighten up a little bit, to be myself, to use my humor, and to just kind of have that normal conversation. Because I think for me, what Anastasia shared earlier was, hit the nail on the head, where I'm not used to asking for money. And so that kind of like tenses me up, and so he reminded me to relax.
Good observation.
Yeah.
That's great. Most of us aren't used to asking for money, so that's why this is so important.
I felt that little bit of adrenaline rush that you get when you first start speaking to someone. It would be so nice to be able to harness that and to like bring it down a notch and then to bring it back up. I think it would be really great to be able to figure out that happy medium.
That balance. Yeah, it's an interesting point. Good point.
I thought one of the things she did really well, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but she connected with me by asking about my daughter. And then when she went to the next part of context for her campaign, is she's running for school board, so she talked about how that would affect my daughter. And that instantly, it made me feel really good and positive right off the bat by taking the connection and tying it into the context of what she's trying to do.
Wow, good technique. Great, yeah, very good. Okay, well, thank you for doing that. Hopefully you learned something from it. And really, you have to be comfortable. It won't feel comfortable in the beginning, but the more comfortable, as Jeanette said, the more comfortable you can be, and the more you can just be you, the more successful you will be. So it's a good thing to practice. Practice on your neighbors, practice on your family.
That I feel the person should know in advance that I'm going to ask for money. Is that true that they should know that? Or, you know what I mean? And it transfers over also to events that I may be planning. I feel like it should always be really clear that this is going to be an ask event and that people should know that. And so like even when I'm sitting down with her, I'm going, okay, I want her to know that I'm going to ask her for money before I ask her for money, because I don't want to blindside her and I want to be honest.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
It's an interesting question, and there's not an easy answer for it because it sort of depends. But I think in nonprofit fundraising, I think yes, it's probably better to kind of let people know that this is kind of why we're meeting, or this is, I want you to know up front. I think people appreciate that. In political, it's a little trickier because you're in a sort of a different arena. Most people almost expect that that's what you're going to do, so it's a little bit of a difference. I think if it's an event, you do want to tell people that there is going to be a charge or an ask or whatever, but one-on-one, you're going to have to play it by ear, I think, first. So, are people going to give to you because you're a nice person? Maybe, but probably not so much in a political campaign. There's a little bit more to it. to know exactly, you know, why you're running. And that's, again, kind of the same as in the nonprofit. You want to be able to articulate your case. But you have to do it quickly, and one of the reasons we did this exercise quickly, and you wouldn't have to do it that quickly, obviously, but it is important for you to succinctly know, why am I running? Why am I asking them to support my campaign, me as opposed to someone else even? So you really have to be able to articulate that, I think, very well. Who's the best fundraiser in a political campaign? It's the candidate. And yes, we can only reach so many people, but honestly, it's the candidate. It is important, though, to have surrogates and people around you. It's important to set up, if you can, a fundraising committee or a finance committee, whatever you want to call it. But it is very, very helpful to have people help you brainstorm of how to raise the money, who to raise the money from, and to see who else you can get to help you raise the money. But in political fundraising in particular, you, the candidate, are the very best fundraiser. Do you know in the House of Representatives, they set aside, and I don't remember right now how many hours a week, I think it's 8 or it might be more than that, every week just for fundraising for the candidate, I mean for the Congress member. So the Congress member who's just been elected right away is going to start raising money again, several hours a week. The thing that's important about that is you have to believe in yourself. If you don't believe you're the best candidate, if you don't believe you can do this job, well, why should I give you any money if you don't believe in yourself? So you have to be able to say to somebody, I'm worth this investment. And it's the same with nonprofit fundraising. I used to tell people, you have to think about it as they're not making an investment in you, they're making an investment in this organization. And you have to see your money as an investment. It's not just asking them for money, but it's actually asking them to make an investment in you as a person, as a candidate, or your cause, whatever that is. You know, in political fundraising, there's something called in-kind contributions, and I just want to touch on that very briefly. It really is important that you can have in-kind contributions, meaning if somebody donates something to you, if somebody donates the printing to you, well, that's great. You don't cover the cost of that. But remember, the difference here is in a political campaign, you have to report that as a contribution. So even though it's in kind and it's not actual hard cash, it may be just as valuable to your campaign, but it must be reported. One of the big differences between nonprofit and political fundraising is how we track the money and who has to know about it. In a nonprofit world, you don't have an FPPC looking over your shoulder at every second. In the political world, you do. So whatever you raise, even though it's in kind, has to be reported. So that's kind of important to remember. Another significant difference, I think, is political fundraising is short-term. Nonprofit fundraising, hopefully you're building a relationship that goes on for years and that you can build on for years. In a political campaign, you have a very short time. You're even limited by different campaign rules of when you can start raising money, as you all know, and how long after the campaign is over. And it's not very much of a window. Some cities and counties have limits on the amount of money that you can raise and spend. The way it usually works in a campaign limit is you can agree to take a lesser amount per person. So just in our example, so if I were to say I'm only going to take a maximum of $150 per person, I wouldn't have to sign a thing saying I'm going to take this limit. If I want to be able to raise $300 per person, then I have to be limited to the limit.